Hello, XCompWiz here. I'm going to be streaming some more Instability Mechanics. Uh, this time I'm going to try to avoid... I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to try to do something as large as a volcano again on a stream. It's just too hard for me to try and focus and uh, stream at the same time. I apparently can't do both. Maybe someday. But for now, we're going to look at making at least one simple instability mechanic, maybe another one if we have time. I'm a bit limited in how much time I have at the very moment, but I still want to try this. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a slow mechanic first. And what this will do is it will slow down the player if they are on the surface, much like the poison or the burning mechanics worked. Or scorched is what actually I mean by burning. Suddenly stream. Yeah, I didn't announce it beforehand because I just kind of went, oh, this will be fun. So we're going to do this. And Shadow is in the chat. That's he's just always around when I stream. Yes, indeed. It's the Twitch announcements are very nice, especially if you have your email routed to something that will notify you immediately when you get an email. You basically know immediately that somebody is streaming. Okay, so I'm going to call this slow. It's going to have a similar stabilization to the poison and burning mechanics. Pardon me. One of the members of the chat was waiting for a Mystcraft age to load and got a pop-up that I was streaming. Apparently decided this would be a decent... I just opened the same file. Decided this would be a decent way to waste the time in between. We'll actually use confusion as our base here. So, these things. And you've not seen confusion in action thus far. Okay. And then, same thing as always, I'm basically just providing an existing mechanic that's external. We'll actually say, we'll just leave it as slow for a moment. Oh, whoops. Thank you, Zybar, for reminding me. I failed to change what was showing on the stream. Okay, so yeah, I've already started. We've got the provider here. Same thing we did last time. Then creating the provider. We've based it off of confusion, so we've got 100 stabilization, minimum, maximum. And now we're about to create the actual effect. Now, the effects, this makes me think that I've got a couple of effects in the wrong place. That's okay. We'll open up a new effect and go from there. I'll open up poison, because that's a good, or very, very similar to what I'm doing at the moment. And then I'm going to move these to Mystcraft effects. Because that's where they're supposed to be. There we go. There's the list. Alrighty. Now looking at poison. Pardon me, I seem to have some minor congestion today. Looking at poison, it's basically just got a tick. Okay, so now we've got poison copied in here. And what it does is it gets all the entities in the chunk that we're currently looking at. And if there are entities in the chunk, then, oh, sorry, it gets one of the lists of entities from the chunk. And the actual lists are broken up into different heights inside the chunk. So it gets one of the lists, and then if there's something in the list, then it gets one of the entities from the list. If that entity can have effects on it, so it's a living entity, like a cow or a player or a creeper, then it applies this effect. We also check here that it can see the sky, so it's on the surface. So then we have the effect, and I'm going to make this now speed slow down, I think it was. Alright. Hey. Alright, well, we'll just look through here then. There we go. And this should just be in potion, I think. There we go. Now it'll slow the player down. Hopefully. Let's try this. Let's see what this does. Slow is already added, but I'm going to remove everything else so that we don't have them showing up and doing things. We just want to see the slow effect. Alright, we'll use this one. This is the world that had all the explosions going off on it. Yeah, I don't want any meteors ruining my day. Oh look, I'm slowed. There's a lot of fire in this world and whatnot, so it takes a moment to load up. Maybe I should get a different world. Let's, there we go. Still slowed. I don't really feel that slow. Might be that, one, wore off, and two, I'm like creative, so it may not affect creative. So, let's see, where was staging area? Where did I do all this from? There's no telling. Alright, well, we'll just go to this little island here. Because this is a nice little spot. Plop that down. Grab a descriptive book. And grab a link book. There. And we'll travel. Alright, we got a void age. Yeah, it is a little slower. Let's change one of the numbers. We go over and we play with this. Just a moment. Try and configure something here. There we go. That should be better. Caesar suggested blindness, and I will show you what blindness looks like in a moment here. Actually, we could just do it now. There we go. Now when I come back, I'll actually go blind. This is blindness. It is terrible. It is an evil instability mechanic. Because seriously, if you're running around on the surface, you can't tell if there's a creeper 5 blocks in front of you until it goes off, basically. I've considered adding it as an instability mechanic, but it'd be a pretty high level one just because it is so evil. So yeah. Alright, so this should be the power factor of the effect. Oh yeah, this is slow. This is much slower. Maybe not this slow. I'll probably have to wait for it to wear off now, though. Yeah, I've got slowness 3 on me. Wait a moment. And now it's slowness 2. Which feels fast compared. There we go. Yeah, you can see how that changed right there. Somebody's asking me about how I made changes to the code while the game was running, and the reason for that, or the method for that, is the game is running in debug mode. So I can actually change the code, make it recompile, and then continue execution. It's pretty nifty. Zybar is suggesting you can actually overcome this with a Potion of Swiftness, and yes, you probably could. I don't know how the potions interact, but it would work. Okay, so let's see here. That works pretty well. We can leave that like that. Alright. I've still got some time. Let's do another one. At this point, I will have to shut down the system because only some changes can really be done. I can't change what's registered, for instance, easily. Okay, so these are suggesting adding fatigue to slowness. This is a possibility, but perhaps it would work better as a separate mechanic. So let's try that. Chat is asking how I learned Java coding, and the quick version of that story, I guess, is I started programming in C. Well, I actually initially started programming in QBasic, but I switched to C++ at about 11, and then I basically did C++ programming primarily and almost exclusively until I came to university. At which point, in my first year, I learned Java programming, which was really the first time I ever bothered. 11, yeah, I'm odd. Time I ever bothered programming in Java. But then I didn't really use Java programming. It was kind of useful, but most of the time I didn't bother with it. I'd rather do everything in C++. And then, well, basically I only really started doing very much with Java when I started doing Mystcraft, since it was kind of a necessity. What's my favorite programming language? I prefer C++ in general. Okay, so let's look at our different effects here. We've already seen blindness. It is a possibility. Harm is also a possibility. Basically, we want to pick any of the negative effects. Play with them. I believe dig slow down is what would actually be fatigue here, so we could try that. Same deal. Also, I've probably got some providers in here that need to be moved. Yeah, these three. They should actually be in instability, I think. There we go. So down here, fix that. Okay. Shadow's asking, isn't that mining fatigue? And yeah, I think so. Is there a different kind of fatigue? This time when we create it, let's remember to put it in the right spot. There are some effects in here that are not actually truly used in the game. For instance, invisibility or night vision. Anything with set potion unusable is obviously not really implemented. I don't know if invisibility even works. I haven't tried it. But there are these 19 potions. And then there might be other effects, but this is pretty much what you got. Pardon me. Okay, I'm being told that invisibility works in 1.4, so that'll be fun. Alrighty, so let's see here. Is bad effect. Okay. Alright, so same deal as before. Let's call it fatigue. We'd actually call it mining fatigue if we felt like being very specific, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. I can change it later if it becomes necessary. Minimum instability and maximum instability can remain null. It just will take anything. And again, because I don't remember this line of code offhand, actually I do. I can just reconstruct it because, you know, I wrote it to begin with. Register effect, this, new effect, fatigue. There we go. Zybar is asking what the current instability effects are, and this is the list. We've got confusion, decay, erosion, explosions, which is what we did in the end of the last stream. I originally was against adding any kind of random explosions, but those just turned out so fun. Fatigue, which is what we're working on now. Lightning, meteors, poison, scorched, which is basically if you're on the surface, it sets you on fire at random. Slow, which is what we just did. And then volcanoes are in development. Okay. Now let's create the effect here. Now we'll just use the same thing again. Effect. Where'd he go? Slow. Now I really could generalize these, and I might. Since all these effects are using basically the same general method, I could really just make it so that it would have a function down here, or even protected. I can spell protected. There we go. Protected. We can just do it like this. Potion effect get effect. And just do like that. And it would return this thingy. Okay. So, Mystcraft is not really open source. That's not to say that I keep it absolutely secret, as obviously I'm flipping through it at the moment. The reason it's not open source is complicated, kinda, and fairly simple too. I basically just don't feel like putting it out there and then having to explain it all the time. So I don't feel like doing the support for it. But the modders that ask for the code, I generally do provide the codes to them. Okay, so if I've generalized this like this, so it's not open source because comments, yeah, kinda. If it were open source, I'd have to write lots more comments. And you can see my code has very few comments. I haven't bothered. This isn't even my code. I haven't bothered. The API does have Java docs. I've written Java docs for the API, but I don't want to write Java docs for the rest of my system. Because it's... I know what it does, kind of. Anyway. So if we were actually to do this, and then... Well, we've actually kind of partially done this. We'll split this into two classes. So we have a class effect potion, and it will implement I in environmental effect. Finish him. There we go. That right. And then protected abstract. There we go. Now this is an abstract class, and what that means is you can't actually create an instance of it directly. It's not open source, but it will have an API, and it does have an API, and I'm going to, sorry, cough a lot this session apparently. I'm going to tie in the, or I've already done that actually, the Instability Mechanics to work with the API. So people can create their own effects and add them using the API. Okay, so we've done this. Now if we come back here, we'll change this to extends effect potion. Now we don't need to do these things. And we just do that. Because now these things are called and it gets the effect from here. And that's a lot less code duplication and things are easier and whatnot. Okay, so and now it's complaining that we don't have that function implemented, so we'll implement it. And there we go. Now this one's smaller. But we can do that for all of them. Effect, poison, and confusion are the other two. So extends effect potion. Like this, and actually over here I'm going to clean up the imports. There we go. Yeah. Alright, so we've done that now. More or less. Almost done. Extends effect potion. Which is funny. Now there's in the source a class called potion effect and a class called effect potion. Just in case things weren't confusing enough. There we go. Now, effect fatigue was supposed to be dig slow down. And we'll try it with 1. See how that is. Well, oops. Let's open that back up. I don't need these open. Zeezer is looking at this going, nausea plus fatigue plus slow plus blind plus meteor plus explosion age equals hard mode. You have no... You are not kidding. That is going to be crazy. Even just nausea and explosions is going to be fun, but nausea plus blind is pretty scary. You're not going to be able to tell where you're going. Alright, so we've got fatigue registered. Let's see here. Yep. Got good. Alright, well now I have mining fatigue, but that's hard to test. Oh wow. This is powerful. That's a lot. How fast can I dig? Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, so we can probably leave that like that. I'm surrounded by little green bubbles. Or brown green bubbles. It's kind of weird. Makes it look like Steve smells bad or something. Okay. Oh, there's another one. I've got maybe 10 more minutes. Somebody got another one? Shadow suggesting it looks like vomit bubbles, which is terribly, terribly appealing. Let's see here. Well, we could add blind. No, jump boost. While I could add it, it would be very easy. These are supposed to be instability mechanics, which are generally supposed to be detrimental. The effect is easy, though. I could make a symbol that added that. Randomly drop a random item instability. You mean out of the player's inventory? That would be an interesting one. Make the player's view tinted a certain color. Maybe. Possibly, but I have to go through and look at how that's done. And at the moment, I'd like to stick to something that I can basically just model off what I've already got. Since I've only got about 10 minutes here. Anyone said randomly take little damage instability? That's harm. And I hadn't done that one yet. But we can do that. Yeah. The interesting thing about harm is I wanted harm to be a higher level one. Maybe, no. Then we'll go ahead and make a harm like we've got here, so we can do that. Okay. You'll note these are all in alphabetical order. A hunger instability. While easy, I don't know if it's exactly reasonable. Okay, so create class. Harm. Stability. Go. Harm could be very dangerous. Yes, I'm aware. I actually had it on my list as having a higher stabilization score and requiring at least some instability before it would kick in. All these numbers are arbitrary, basically, at the moment. Not completely and totally arbitrary, but no, Zybar, you're not allowed to see my list. But the numbers will all change. The main thing for that is I've not really done most of the balancing for this yet. I have to see how these things play out, work together, whatever. All right, so effect harm. There we go. We create class effect harm, and we put it in effects. Now, I actually wanted harm to work even if they're not on the surface. So we've got two options. We can make a different one that follows similar mechanics but doesn't have this check, or we can try and break the check into something else. So I think we'll do that. Let's see here. Is subject target valid? And we'll pass in the entity as an entity living. Let's create this class, make it protected. Oh, we'll also need to pass in the world object. There we go. So that'll allow us to control whether or not that's in play. So this actually should extend effect proportion. Oops, that should be extends. Really doesn't like it when you typo. We'll also drop this function in, mark it as an override. And we'll just return true. It can happen anywhere in the world. They don't have to be on the surface. I've been asked if I'm aware of the incompatibility of Mystcraft, the portal gun mod in 1.3.2, and yes, I am. And there's two actual incompatibilities there. One is that Mystcraft, the current release, which you've got, is built against Forge 247, and Portal Gun requires 264, I think, as its minimum amount, or minimum Forge version. So obviously that's a problem, so that breaks it right out. But then there's another one where there's a issue with Portal Gun not being or not handling the hot loading of the dimensions well, since that's a new thing. That's something that Mystcraft's kind of added. So it's not easy to design and plan for if you're if it's not normally in the code. But I've already sent him some code that should fix that, so hopefully that'll be fixed soon. Close asks what version this will be in, and basically the next release will have these effects in them. Should fatigue work underground too? Makes mining slower? Maybe. We could go ahead and do that. We can try that. Klaus asked me to say something if I'm not too concentrated, but I don't have the time. And hello to Finland. So, hello all Finland. I'm actually in Finland, so I figured that's why he said that. So let's see here. Get effect. So let's create. Let's come over here and do what we just said we'd do. Make it so fatigue would work underground too. Now that's going to be quite substantial a change. So we'll actually make this 150, because you can't escape it. Yes, I did say that I'm in Finland. All right. Okay, so let's get the effect construction here. Drop this down to 0. Drop that to a slower time period, and then make this harm. And I really think harm is kind of an instant effect, so I don't know if the timing will actually matter. But this should hypothetically be the only one registered. Show you a space in that name. I am living in Finland. I'm originally from the States. I'm studying at Helsinki University, studying computer science. No surprises there, really. I've been here for the past 5 years. Terve. Okay. Instant damage. Ow! That was me. Okay. That was cruel. That won't work. Alright, so let's see here. First, let's drop that down to that, though I don't think it'll help. I don't actually need to just close this. There we go. I respawn. Jeez! Harm is evil. Okay, I can't add that. That if it just did, you know, a couple hearts. Pardon me. Pardon me. If it just did a couple hearts, then I could actually do that. But no. Yeah, harm is a bit too much. We can't do that. Alright, so that one's a no-go. Let's try something else. Let's go with blindness. Make it so you have to be on the surface. And I'll show you how refactoring works. I could kind of delay the harm, but it's still too many hearts. The biggest problem with it is it does 4 hearts in one hit. That's too much for me to try and uses a basic instability mechanic. Even as a major instability mechanic, that's really too much. The major instability mechanics should not be able to kill you in half a second. They're supposed to destroy the world, not just kill you outright every time you respawn. It's a permadeath. Can't do anything about it then. But we'll do this. And now we've got blindness. There we go. And you've already seen blindness, so... half a heart every second is even actually pretty reasonable. But 4 hearts, like, if it can kill you within a second, it's too much. But you've already seen blindness, but we'll go ahead and end on the note of blindness. So we go back, we look around, and I'm dead. I'm not going blind. Why am I not going blind? Let's see. Oh, because this is too small. Clock 1702. Yeah, it's currently 5:02 here. I'm blind. Let's go to another age, just to see what blindness is like. You can kind of see the sun out there, there's trees that way. But I can't tell what's going on because I'm blind. This age is unstable too. I can hear something moving out in the darkness, but not what. It's really creepy. Yeah, this works. It's not going to kill you, but it's definitely terrifying, which I think is good for an instrument here and there. I heard a skeleton. I bet he can see me and I can't see him. Endermen will be absolutely horrifying with this, as will creepers. And cows. I mean, it's really bad. Something starts moving out there, you start wondering, what is it? It turns out to be a chicken. I've been shot. Off my tree. How far did he fall? Yeah, you can still see the sun out there, which kinda helps. But not the sky. And it's apparently nighttime and sunset. In fact, it's an eternal sunset here, so it's never gonna get better. Yeah, this is scary, but I think it's quite functional as an instrument mechanic. So I can actually do this. If I can get under something, the blindness will eventually wear off. And now I can see what the age actually looks like. Turns out, yeah, it's eternal sunset, whatnot. Checkerboard biomes. Oops, I'm blind again. But now I kind of know where things are, and I feel better about it. An instrument mechanic is causing the blindness. It's one we just put in. Alright, so hopefully I'm still... And I see something move over there. It's just pigs. It's okay. Okay, here's an amusing thing. I'm gonna have to run over to one of the pigs now. Let's find the one that was out. The pig is blind. The effects work on living entities, but only some of them are particularly effective. Blindness is a rendering effect. Ah! Creeper. And I'm afraid to run from it, because then I couldn't see it. Yeah, no seeing eye pigs. Creepers are living entities. The creeper is blind too, but it doesn't really affect it the same way. But I've got to go. I've actually got a meeting to be at in about 50 minutes. So, yeah, the aggressive mobs still have pathfinding, unfortunately. You'll get into wolf there. So, yeah. But I've got to go. Yeah, I'll be back another time.